My name is Tom Horton. I am a solution builder from Amazon Web Services. Today, what we're going to talk about is building an analytics pipeline on AWS. Okay, so during the course of this, we're just going to hit three major points. First of all, why are analytics important in a gaming context? We're going to show you what this gaming analytics pipeline solution actually is, and then I'm going to show you a little bit on how to get started and how to deploy this in your account and be ready to go in about half an hour. Okay, so analytics are important in just about everything that you can do, gaming especially. Peter Drucker said if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So if you don't know what's going on inside your game, how could you possibly know if the changes that you're making are effective? So we have this concept of the flywheel effect. So using analytics, you can drive a better design for your game. A better design is going to end up in a better experience for your users. That experience means that your users are going to be more engaged and more plentiful. And that means that you're going to get more data from your customers. And that data feeds back in, and you can have a better design, and that builds on top of itself in a virtuous cycle. So by observing and reacting to player behavior, you can create a positive feedback loop. We have a lot of customers running analytics workloads on Amazon Web Services. Two big ones that you've heard of are Supercell. Supercell is the makers of Clash of Clans. They're using Kinesis to process over 45 billion in-game events per day. So this architecture scales out, and it's proven. EA Games, I'm sure you're aware of, they ingest over 1 billion records per day into Redshift, our data warehouse, just for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes alone. So we have plenty of customers running analytics workloads on Amazon Web Services. We've talked about EA and Supercell. We also use it in-house for Amazon Game Studios and other companies like Ubisoft, Telltale Games, and Nexon run similar workloads. So we talked about creating this virtuous cycle of making better game design. And I want to kind of go into some more specifics. So what we have here is a heat map generated off of data from a third-person shooter game. So what we've done is whenever a kill happens in the game, we take the XY coordinates from that event, and then we can plot them back out on an overlay of the level, end up with a heat map. So this heat map will tell us white and yellow spots mean that more activity is happening in that area, where black means less is happening. So we can take a look at this, and we see a couple of interesting spots. Up in the top, it might not be obvious, there are power-ups in this area called ziggurats, and when the developers put them there, they expected that it'd be something that they fight over, and there'd be a lot of activity in that area. But if you're looking at this map, you can't even tell that there's something interesting there. Also, down below, it might not be, it's kind of hard to see from there, but the level has these 90-degree bends right here in these 4 quadrants. And this one area is very lit up. There's a lot of player death occurring in that area. So these are kind of two insights, or two areas that don't really fit the expectations of the developers. So the next step is to analyze it and figure out what's going on. So these ziggurats, are the buffs in that area. They didn't seem to be valuable enough for players to want to make the risk of going in that area and dying. So maybe they weren't powerful enough, or they didn't know about them. On the other side, down in that corner where there's a lot of hot spots, it turns out that players tend to fall off the map. They're trying to make a shortcut and jump over a gap, and that's causing a lot of deaths there unnecessarily. So using that information, we can update the game and better engage players. So we can increase the power-ups in that one area to incentivize behavior in that direction. Or we can add gates or better fall protection in others to keep people in the game and not dying unnecessarily. So there's just a few examples of using a feedback loop to create a better design. Okay, so that's a little bit about analytics, and what I want to show you all now is our gaming analytics pipeline solution. We have a doozy of an architecture diagram here. So what the solution is at its core is a pipeline where data can be streamed in and it ends up in a data warehouse. So the first step is for your game servers to post events. This is the only thing that you need to do. The game servers send an event to what's called a kinesis stream. That kinesis stream has the information with all of your event data in it, and it's going to process it and put it up into Amazon S3, which is our data storage service, our object storage service. Another trigger occurs, and another application pulls that data from our object storage and loads it into a database for you. So along the lines, we do a bunch of data deduplication and validation. So multiple events aren't triggered or accounted for multiple times. Once that data is into Redshift, you have the power of the entire AWS ecosystem at your fingertips. So Redshift can be used in conjunction with tools like Amazon QuickSight to create visualization dashboards. Or you could even feed it into a service like SageMaker, which is our machine learning tool. So you can create machine learning models off of that and do further insights. So the final question, hopefully you're interested in this. Going to answer, how do you get started? So our team has a link, and this one's kind of hard to get to, aws.amazon.com/answers, where we have a repository of reference architectures like this. So we try to find common customer use cases and questions that they have about Amazon Web Services and answer them. In this case, it's how do I create a big data pipeline? I'm going to pop out and go to the actual page. From here, you'll have access to a bunch of documentation, and this walks through our design decisions, why we did things certain ways, and how to customize this for your own use case. I'm not going to get into it here. If you click this Deploy Solution button, then you end up at the CloudFormation console, and that console, and then CloudFormation will be able to create all this infrastructure and spin it up for you in about half an hour, and you'll be ready to create events. If you want to learn more, talk a little bit more in depth about what we have here, we have a kiosk just around the corner. Kiosk number 20 is to build a analytics pipeline. And myself and one of the others will be there to kind of talk about use cases and how you can use this. We also have a kiosk for game analytics and real-time adjustments, as well as a class for Twitch Insights. Those are all along the same lines as this. You get a lot of insight in how to keep your game going and increase the long tail of your product. Cool. Thanks a lot. We'll see you out on the floor.